Hi, my name is Will Clark and I am one of the British editors for Content Team. And what I'd like to talk about a little bit today is something that comes up an awful lot with the orders we get and with the clients that we have, and that is with regards to British and American English and really how that affects the way we communicate with people. Now I think a lot of the time people assume that you can change a few spellings and we can move over from British English to American English. It's just a case of changing the word colour or centre or things like that. But I would say that it's a little more complicated than that, because you can't just homogenise British and American, or even Australian, New Zealanders, Canadians, based on the fact that we have a common language. It's a little more complex in the fact that British consumers and American consumers are quite different as well. So what I'd talk about is the way that we should communicate with them should really reflect the cultural differences that we see between these two groups of people. For example, in the United States, people are a lot less environmentally conscious than British people. So in the UK, we're very keen on recycling. We recycle pretty much everything. We all try and drive smaller cars and cut down our carbon footprint. This has become very popular lately, and then really for Americans, it's not such of a big deal, as far as I understand. And things like eating meat as well. So British people are a lot more likely to be vegetarians than Americans. Americans eat a lot more meat than British people. So these are one of the things that we'd consider when we are tailoring pieces of text to clients from those countries. That we should consider when writing text for British people. We should consider the fact that they're likely to be more concerned about the environment. So we'll speak to their concerns. If we are writing text for Americans, we don't have to worry quite as much about that. But I think it is coming, so it's something that is being talked about more these days in America than it ever has been, but for the British it's really quite a big deal. British people are very happy to do things online. So they're a lot more independent-minded. We're quite used to banking online. That's very, very convenient. We've had that for many years already. We can even sort out our pensions. We can deal with the government online. So we're very, very comfortable doing everything that we have to do, admin-wise, online. Americans tend to like more that personal contact. So that's probably something as well that we have to consider when we're communicating with people from the States as opposed to the UK. UK people are very independent, very happy to just go and throw everything in and do it all online without any kind of human contact along the way. Also buyer behaviour, what people do in their free time. So American people, they like to go out to restaurants. Obviously lately with the pandemic, that's changed a lot. But traditionally Americans like to go out to eat on a Friday night. For British people, it's a lot more popular just to stay home and have a takeout. And if they don't do that, they'll probably prefer to maybe go to the pub and have a drink. But eating in restaurants is something that we tend to do a little bit less in the UK compared to the US. Now, in the UK lately, there's been a lot of talk about mental health, and this has been something that, even at a very high level, we've had people like Prince Harry who have come up and talked about mental health issues. It's really in the forefront. Prime Minister Theresa May previously really made a huge deal of this in terms of our government policies, and young people in the UK are very concerned about mental health issues, and it's something we're free to talk about at the moment. So we don't shy away from talking about mental health issues. It's not shunned like it was in the past. It's not such a taboo subject. Americans don't worry quite as much about the mental health as British people do. So it might just be the circumstance or the lifestyle in the UK that influences this, but the British tend to think a lot about mental health issues and are very open to discuss them. So that's another thing that we can consider when we're communicating with people, their likeliness to actually go ahead and talk about mental health issues. And Americans are a lot more guarded about their personal data. And again, it might be the differences in legislation that lead to this, but I think it could also link back to the fact that, British people are more happy to get things done online because they're less concerned perhaps about their personal data. But Americans are very concerned about sharing their information online. The British are a little more laid back about this. I guess we're a bit more trusting in how the government or whoever else would use our data. And another thing, last but not least, for British people, we worry a lot about getting older. So we spend a lot more on cosmetics than Americans do. It's a real concern for British young people, for millennials, is looking older. So when we communicate, it's probably a different way of communicating, talking about things like cosmetics, than it would be when we talk to Americans about that kind of thing. So there's a lot of difference in the culture in the States, a lot of difference in the way that people wish to be communicated with, and also the way that people will respond to what we write. So in summary, when we do prepare texts for British or American people, there's a lot more to it than just considering the spelling or the way we write. It also has to really take into consideration the cultural differences between the two countries. That's what we do here at Content Team, and we've been doing it for a very long time. So we put a lot of thought into how we communicate with people and tailoring what we write to the target audience. So thanks for listening, and I'll be back hopefully very soon with more thoughts about how we communicate with our clients and how best to tailor work to individual groups. Thank you for listening.